appropriately. Secondly, we need to demonstrate an example of what life well lived looks like and create a legacy. Titus chapter 2, verse 6 says, similarly, encourage the young men to be self-controlled. Listen to this in verse 7. In everything, set an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity and seriousness. Set an example. You know, I had my tennis lesson the other day. They were teaching us how to hit the racket correctly and hit the tennis ball correctly. And he said it's like a C. And so you just reach up back there and you kind of hit back and it's like a C. And you just want to keep making a C. And so he's showing me, and he'll demonstrate it first. And so it looks like this. It looks like this. And then I'll try to hit it, and he'll come back behind me. He says, no, it looks like this. He'll demonstrate an example of the correct way to hit a tennis ball. In the same way, we need to demonstrate the correct way to live life and to live faith. That our kids would see us going to church, that our kids would see us reading the Bible, that our kids would see us living life of integrity. Our kids would see us taking time with the family and having family dinners together and having family moments together and prioritizing all of those things. Creating a legacy. You know, I say it all the time. I'm so thankful for some of the things my parents instilled in me. For example, we went to church all the time. It didn't matter. I mean, we were at church all the time because back then, at the church I went to, and some of you may relate with this, I went Sunday morning, I went Sunday night church, that's right. I went Wednesday night because they had like kids programs and youth programs. And then most of the time there was like some activity on Friday night and a Saturday morning thing. Pretty soon I just wanted to set a cot back in the back room at the church because I was there all the time. We were the last ones to leave the church because my dad frequently was part of the board and he would be responsible for locking down the building. So we'd play hide and go seek in the church. They had pews and like this tiled floor, and I would just like slide underneath the pews, and it was like a playground. It's the most fun place on the face of the planet. And there's a few times I tried to get out of going to church, but even if I was sick, they would just take me to church and pray for me anyway. On Sunday nights, The Wonderful World of Walt Disney was on. It didn't matter. I had to go to church. But there's something that instilled in me. A legacy where it's important. I don't think, should I go to church today? It's a legacy that we're establishing in our family. My kids don't wake up and say, I wonder if I'm going to church today. And it's not just because I'm the pastor, right? It's part of our expression of faith. Hebrews 10 says, don't give up the habit of meeting together as some are in the habit of doing. There's something about meeting together and being part of this mission of God. And hopefully those same habits, my parents would read the Bible. I've said this before, but one time I was homesick about in 4th grade. My friend had fed me something that was like totally rotten, and I was so sick. It was the sickest moment of my life, and I was there just miserable. And I was we had kind of this living room that's separated from this see-through fireplace, and I was just dying sick as a dog in one room. And I'm listening to my mom and my grandmother pray for me for like an hour. And I got to tell you, it dawned on me at a certain point that this is something that they did for me every single day. What a legacy. What do you want to be said about you as a parent and you as a family that you're establishing right now as a legacy? Begin with the end in mind. Demonstrate an example of what a life well lived looked like. Create a legacy. Uphold a culture of respect, especially for authority. Now, as a coach, you can imagine if you were coaching a team and the team just, you said, okay, we're going to run some drills. We're going to run the mile like Coach Hodson used to tell me. And all the players just lifted up their hands and says, no, I don't think we're going to do it today, Coach. I'm not sure we're going to practice. I think we should go catch a movie. We're going to go play video games. If everybody just did their own thing, it would absolutely be chaotic. And God forbid what that team would look like once the game kind of came around, right? I mean, they would be so ill prepared. And oftentimes, our children in the same way are so ill-prepared for life because of a lack of respect for authority. I was in student ministry for a while, and I remember one time this mom comes and drops off her teenage son, And she's trying to tell him something. She's saying, I'm going to pick you up in a couple hours or whatever she was saying. And he just turned to her and he goes, why don't you just shut up, you old bag, and get out of here? And he turns and kind of smirks to his friends. And I'm just like, oh my word. If that was one of my kids, that would be the last day of their life. I don't even know how to handle that. Dishonesty, rebellion, disrespect. I mean, these are things that we just pounced on as a family at a very young age, because it's absolutely important that our kids not only honor their parents, and if you're a teenager here or child here, it's so important that you honor your parents, because God has placed authority figures in all of our lives. Listen to what it says in Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. He goes on to say in verse 5 that we should follow those governing authorities and submit to them not only out of a fear of punishment, but as a matter of conscience. Because we're recognizing that to fight against authority ultimately is to fight against God. And that's why it's so important that no matter what age you are, that you honor your parents. Even if your parents have passed on, find something to honor and submit to those authorities. If one of your kids comes home, like mine have at times, and they go, you won't believe the teacher. She doesn't listen to me. She doesn't like me. You know, sometimes there's something in our heart as a parent that we just want to go in there, and we're going to charge in there and says, what are you doing messing with my kid? And we set that teacher straight, and we come back out, and the kids got tears running down their eyes, and they say, Mom, Dad, you're the best. Thank you so much. And we just feel so good. We're the heroes saving the day. And little did we know that we've just done the worst thing that we could possibly do as we plan to develop our kids' character. And I've advocated for my kids with parents and different things like that in certain situations. But we need to take these life lessons as an opportunity to not simply just protect our kids, but to prepare our kids for life. Because chances are they're going to encounter a boss somewhere along the way who isn't that fun to be around, or a work climate that isn't that equitable. And we need to teach them skills so that they can navigate through even those challenges in life. As adults, many times their skill set is dwarfed because we've protected them from every little bit of pain throughout the course of their life. That culture of respect and authority is so very, very important. Make consistent investments of encouragement. You know, as a coach, at my lesson the other day, I was hitting the tennis ball back and forth, and the coach that was there, the trainer, he said, "Oh, that's such a good hit." You know, and come on. To change the grip and your backhand, you're hitting this way. Oh, fantastic. That was just wonderful. You know, I walk out of there feeling like $1 million. I'm thinking I need to sign up for the Parent-Ball Open, and it's going to be fantastic. And you know, every good coach, I think, is a good encourager. You know, I had a good friend, his name was Jeff Swaim, and this was the motto of his parenting life. He said, catch them doing something right. Catch them doing something right. And so as a result, with his 2 beautiful daughters, he would just say, oh, that was fantastic. I noticed you did that. And I love it that you come in a room and you have this big smile on your face. You catch them doing something right. And even when we've had difficulty in discipline types of situations, if one of my kids wasn't quite honest or a little sketchy with the truth, I would say this most of the time. You are an honest person. You are a person of integrity. And honest people don't lie. You see the difference? When you say that you're a liar, or I'm so disappointed in you, or I'm ashamed of you, or I'm ashamed of that level of behavior, many times you're attacking their identity. But instead you have the opportunity to build them up and say, you are an honest person, to make this something that is affirming to them. Bring them up You know, I have the opportunity to look up some of the original language and Greek and different things like that through Bible commentaries and Bible dictionaries. Do you know what it actually means in the Bible where it says bring them up? It means bring them up. And, you know, there's this opportunity where you have to lift them up. You can't drive anybody down into greatness. Set consistent priorities about what is most important. You know, as a coach, parents who are coaches and coaching your kids, it's important that everybody on the team understands what's most important. That you're supposed to throw that block, or you're supposed to hit that ball on a team, or you're supposed to pass the ball to the star player, or whatever it is. You understand exactly what it is to do your job. And as parenting coaches, we need to set priority on what is most important. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. Listen to what it says. This is kind of the Shema prayer that Jesus recites, as well as it was just throughout Judaic code, that they would say this prayer in the morning and at night. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all of your might." And listen to what it says in verse 6. "And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates." By the repetition of this, they're teaching their kids that it's most important to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Jesus adds another commandment, that you love others as I have loved you. These are preeminent, important types of things. But as you know, it's so easy to get distracted. And in a game, in any team, it's just easy to get distracted, and suddenly you don't do your job, and you're missing assignments. And in the same way in a family, it's just easy to get distracted. And I got to tell you, you know, I've said this before, but many times our commitment to church on a regular basis is so small, and so many other things knock us out of consistency, that I have to ask, how are we not teaching our children? The church is just something that you do when you absolutely have nothing else going on. And this example is true whether you're a grandparent or a great-grandparent, or you're a single adult, or you've got kids in the home. The fact that we are teaching these priorities, and I cannot recommend that you have your kids engage in a sport that's going to take them out of regular church attendance, or it's going to disrupt some of the things that God is doing in their life, because it's so important that we put the big rocks in first. We put the first things first on our calendars. These are non-negotiable things that we just simply do as a family. And maybe that's having a family meal together for you, or maybe that's Saturday morning breakfast for you, or maybe that's evening prayers for you. One of the great things that we did as parents, and we're certainly not perfect. Trish and I aren't perfect. Our kids aren't perfect. Do not think that we are. And I don't have moral authority to necessarily speak into blended families and single adults. There's certain dynamics there that are so challenging. But one of the things that I think we did right is when our kids were little, we prayed with them every single night. You know, it was getting late. They've done their homework. They've washed. They've brushed their teeth. They're in bed. And we would get in there and we would say the Lord's Prayer together. And every single week I prayed, God, help Alexis, Cameron, and Carter to do what is right, even if everybody else is doing what is wrong. Help them to do what is right, even when it's hard.